The first vibration of my phone should have been easy to ignore. After all, I was sitting at a family lunch, surrounded by laughter, the smell of homemade food, and the people I believed I could trust with my life. But one message, one single sentence, changed everything. Don't react. They're recording you. At that exact moment, I realized my greatest enemy wasn't outside my home. He was already sitting at my table. If you've ever wondered what it feels like to be betrayed by someone you treated like family, and if you love watching justice come full circle, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe, and stay until the end. Because this story isn't just about revenge, it's about making a traitor watch his own empire collapse. My name is Ethan Carter. I'm 45 years old, and for nearly 16 years, I poured every ounce of my energy into building Carter and Hayes Industrial Solutions from nothing. No wealthy parents, no lucky breaks, just endless 14-hour workdays, frozen mornings loading trucks, missed anniversaries, and enough sleepless nights to fill a lifetime. That Sunday was supposed to be my victory lap. My wife, Emily, had prepared my favorite pot roast, the recipe she only made when celebrating something truly special. And we had every reason to celebrate. Just 3 days earlier, our company had secured the largest contract in its history, $46 million. Enough to guarantee growth for years. Around the dining table sat the people closest to us. Emily smiled across at me. My business partner, Adrian Hayes, raised his glass with that effortless confidence that had helped us charm investors for over a decade. His wife, Claire, laughed beside him. Everything looked perfect. Everything felt safe. Then, my phone buzzed beneath the table. Unknown number. No greeting. No explanation. Just 6 chilling words. Don't react. They're recording you. My heartbeat slammed against my ribs. Every instinct screamed at me to look around, to search the room, to demand answers. But years of business negotiations had taught me one lesson. The first person to lose control usually loses everything. So I smiled. I complimented Emily's cooking. I laughed at Adrian's joke. I even helped clear the dishes, something I almost never did. Not because I suddenly felt generous, but because standing at the kitchen sink gave me a reason to face away from everyone, while one terrifying question echoed inside my mind. If someone was recording me, who had put the cameras there? And why? That night, while Emily slept peacefully beside me, I quietly began searching my own house. I had no idea I was about to uncover a nightmare far worse than betrayal. The house had never felt so quiet. Every creak in the hallway sounded louder than it ever had before. Every shadow suddenly seemed alive. Emily slept peacefully upstairs, completely unaware that our home, the one we'd spent 19 years filling with memories, might have become someone else's private theater. I grabbed a flashlight from the garage but kept it switched off. If someone really was watching, I didn't want them to know I knew. I started in the bedroom. Smoke detector. Air vent. Picture frames. Nothing. 20 minutes passed. Then 30. My knees ached from crawling across the hardwood floor, and I was beginning to wonder if the anonymous message had been some twisted prank. Then, a tiny reflection caught my eye. Barely visible. No larger than the head of a pin, hidden inside the smoke detector directly above our bed. My entire body froze. I climbed onto a chair, unscrewed the detector, and stared into the tiny black lens. Someone had been watching us sleep, watching our private conversations, watching every embrace between my wife and me. A wave of nausea rolled through my stomach. I carefully placed the device on the dresser without damaging it. One camera. Whoever installed it hadn't stopped there. I searched the bathroom next. Another one. Hidden inside the ventilation grill above the shower. The realization hit me like a freight train. Someone had watched me every single morning. Every private moment. Every vulnerable second. By midnight I found another disguised as a USB charger inside my home office. Then one inside a digital clock in the kitchen. Finally, a 5th camera hidden behind a shelf in the garage. 5 silent witnesses to every moment of my life. I sat alone on the bathroom floor, holding the tiny devices in my trembling hands. They looked harmless. Cheap plastic. Tiny circuit boards. But together they represented the greatest invasion of my life. Who would do something this sick? A jealous competitor? A criminal trying to blackmail me? Or someone close enough to know exactly where to hide them? Sleep never came that night. Instead, I replayed every conversation I'd had over the last few months. Every strange comment. Every unexpected visitor. Every coincidence. One face kept appearing in my mind. Adrian Hayes, my best friend, my business partner, the man I'd trusted for 16 years. No, I whispered to myself, he wouldn't, would he? The next morning I looked him straight in the eyes as we met at the office. He greeted me with the same warm smile he'd worn for years. "Morning, Ethan," he said casually. "You look exhausted. Trouble sleeping?" For a split second I wondered if he already knew exactly why I hadn't slept. And as I forced a smile back at him, a terrifying thought settled deep inside my chest. If Adrian was behind the cameras, then whatever game he was playing had only just begun. The hardest part wasn't pretending everything was normal. It was looking into Adrian Hayes' eyes every morning, and acting like I still trusted him. He greeted me with the same confident smile he'd worn for 16 years, the same firm handshake, the same easy laugh. If he had planted those cameras, then he deserved an Oscar. "Morning, Ethan," he said, tossing a file onto my desk. "Looks like the Meridian contract is already bringing in new opportunities." I smiled. That's good news. Inside, my stomach was twisting itself into knots. I needed proof, not suspicions, not gut feelings. Proof that would destroy him beyond any excuse. That evening, instead of going straight home, I parked outside an old security consulting office on the east side of town. The faded sign Reed Security Solutions inside, waited the only man I trusted enough to share my nightmare. Marcus Reed. Former surveillance investigator. Cybersecurity expert. A man whose entire career had been built on exposing lies. He looked at the 5 hidden cameras spread across his workbench and let out a slow whistle. "These aren't amateur toys," he muttered. "What do you mean?" Marcus adjusted his glasses before carefully examining one of the devices. "They're cellular cameras. No Wi-Fi. No home network. They upload directly to cloud storage." He looked up. "Whoever installed these planned this months in advance." A chill crawled down my spine. "So someone could watch everything," Marcus nodded. "From anywhere in the world." Silence filled the workshop. Finally, he asked the question I'd been avoiding. "Who do you think did it?" I stared at the cameras. "I think it's Adrian." Marcus didn't react. He simply leaned back in his chair. "If you're right, this isn't about spying. It's about building evidence." "What kind of evidence?" "The fake kind." He pulled up several case files on his computer. "I've seen this before. Someone secretly records months of innocent footage, then edits it. A short clip here. A private conversation there. A stack of cash from a business transaction. Suddenly an honest businessman looks like a criminal." The room suddenly felt smaller. I remembered counting emergency cash payments from suppliers in my office. Private phone calls. Confidential meetings. Everything could be manipulated. Everything. Marcus broke the silence. "Don't remove the cameras." I looked at him in disbelief. "You want me to leave them there?" "I want whoever's watching to believe you're still clueless." He smiled for the first time. "Because the easiest way to catch a hunter is to let him think he's already caught you." The next morning I walked into the office like nothing had changed. Adrian was pouring coffee. "Good timing," he grinned. "I've been thinking. We should finally bring outside investors into the company." There it was. The conversation he'd been pushing for over a year. Something in his eyes looked different now. Hungrier, patient, like a man waiting for the perfect moment to strike. I slowly nodded. "You know," I said. "Maybe you're right." His smile widened. Exactly as I hoped it would, because from that moment on, I stopped being the prey, and Adrian unknowingly became the target. From that day forward, I became an actor inside my own life. Every smile, every conversation, every late-night phone call, every document left on my desk was carefully planned, because somewhere, Adrian was watching. Marcus had disabled the camera's ability to compromise me, but he secretly mirrored their transmissions. Now every time someone logged into the surveillance account, we knew exactly when they were watching. The pattern became obvious. Almost every night, between 10:45 p.m. and midnight. Exactly the hours Adrian always claimed he was working late at the warehouse. He wasn't checking inventory, he was checking me. That realization made my blood boil. But anger wasn't my weapon anymore. Patience was. Marcus handed me a prepaid burner phone. "Call this every night," he said. "It only records your voice, so the cameras pick up exactly what you want them to hear." I smiled. For the first time in weeks, I finally understood the game. That night, I sat in my home office beneath the hidden charger camera. I opened an old ledger on my desk. Stacks of cash from legitimate supplier reimbursements sat beside it. To an innocent person, it looked normal. To someone hunting for evidence, it looked like corruption. I picked up the burner phone. Yeah, I'll move the money before the audit. A pause. No, nobody will notice. Another pause. We'll split everything after the contract clears. Every word, a complete lie. Every sentence, carefully crafted bait. I even scribbled fake account numbers across a notebook and left it open directly beneath the camera. If Adrian wanted a story, I'd give him one. For nearly 2 weeks I repeated the performance. Fake calls, fake ledgers, fake stress, even fake arguments with imaginary suppliers. Meanwhile, Marcus quietly tracked every login into the camera network. He's downloading everything, Marcus said one afternoon. He thinks he's building the perfect case. Exactly what I wanted. Then Adrian made a mistake. During lunch at the office, he leaned casually against my desk. You look tired. I chuckled. Too much paperwork. You know, he said, stirring his coffee. Sometimes people carry too much responsibility. I've been thinking, maybe it's time one of us stepped back. His words sounded harmless, but I heard the threat hidden underneath. I looked him straight in the eyes. You planning something? He laughed. What? No, I'm just thinking about the company's future. I smiled. So am I. For one brief second, the smile disappeared from his face. It was tiny, barely noticeable. But I'd known Adrian for 16 years. I recognized that expression. It was disappointment. He'd expected me to panic. Instead, I was calm. That evening, Marcus called me. His voice sounded different. You're not going to believe this. What happened? I traced one of the payments connected to the surveillance account. My heartbeat quickened. And? Marcus slowly turned his laptop toward me. On the screen was the payment history for the hidden cameras. The subscription wasn't paid with cash. It wasn't anonymous. It had been charged to our company's corporate credit card. And the authorization signature belonged to only one person. Adrian Hayes. At that moment, suspicion died. Proof had finally arrived. And now, it was time to destroy the man who thought he had already destroyed me. Everything was finally in place. For 3 long weeks I had lived inside a lie. I smiled for the cameras. I pretended to be careless. I let Adrian believe he was collecting enough evidence to bury me forever. Now, he was ready to make his move. The board meeting was scheduled for Monday morning, 9 o'clock. The same conference room where Adrian and I had celebrated our biggest victories together. How fitting. It would also become the place where his entire world collapsed. Before sunrise, I met Marcus in the parking garage beneath our headquarters. He handed me a tiny recording device. Last chance to back out. I shook my head. I've come too far. He clipped the recorder inside my suit jacket. If Adrian says anything today, we'll have it. I adjusted my tie and looked at my reflection in the car window. For weeks, fear had controlled my life. Not anymore. Today, fear belonged to Adrian. The boardroom slowly filled. 2 independent directors. Our company attorney, Victoria Lawson. Our financial auditor, Rachel Brooks. Adrian, and a surprise guest, Graham Whitmore. The private equity executive Adrian had secretly been negotiating with. So it was true. He hadn't just planned to remove me. He planned to sell the company I'd spent 16 years building. Adrian smiled confidently. I thought Graham could join us. He has some exciting ideas about restructuring. Restructuring, a polished business word. It really meant replacing me. Victoria opened the meeting. Financial reports, quarterly projections, contract updates. Everyone knew it was just a formality. Then she folded her hands. There's another matter. The room became silent. I recently received anonymous documents accusing Ethan Carter of embezzling company funds. Adrian lowered his eyes, pretending to be shocked, pretending to be disappointed. He was already acting like the grieving friend. Victoria continued. I had every document independently verified. Adrian looked up. A small smile almost appeared. Then, she finished her sentence. They're completely fraudulent. His smile vanished. The bank accounts don't exist. The signatures are forged. The payment dates are impossible. Our forensic audit found no missing money. Silence. Absolute silence. I watched Adrian's face slowly lose its color. Victoria looked directly at him. Someone went to extraordinary lengths to frame Ethan. One of the board members leaned forward. Who would benefit from that? I slowly stood. I think. I know exactly who. Every eye turned toward me. I placed a small evidence folder on the conference table. Inside were photographs of every hidden camera, the payment records, the surveillance subscription, and one final document, the corporate credit card statement. The room fell deathly quiet as everyone read the signature. Authorized by Adrian Hayes. Adrian's hands began shaking. Ethan, I can explain. I looked him straight in the eyes. No, you've been explaining yourself for 16 years. Today, it's my turn. And as I reached into my jacket for the recorder, I saw something I'd never seen on Adrian Hayes' face before. Pure fear. The room was so quiet, you could hear the air conditioner humming against the ceiling. Adrian stared at the corporate credit card statement as though it belonged to someone else. His hands trembled. His confident smile was gone. For the first time in 16 years, he looked exactly like what he was. Cornered. Ethan, he whispered. This isn't what it looks like. I laughed softly. Really? Then tell everyone what it does look like. He opened his mouth, but no words came out. The board members exchanged uneasy glances. Victoria Lawson slid another folder onto the conference table. I believe everyone should see the rest of the evidence. Inside were photographs. The smoke detector above my bed, the camera hidden inside the bathroom vent, the charger in my office, the digital clock in my kitchen, the device hidden inside my garage. 5 hidden cameras, 5 crimes, 1 mastermind. The oldest board member slowly removed his glasses. My God, you recorded your business partner inside his own home? Adrian immediately shook his head. I didn't install those cameras. He froze. The instant the words escaped his mouth, he realized what he'd done. I smiled. You only. What, Adrian? The silence was devastating. You just admitted you knew they existed. His face turned ghost white. Victoria closed her notebook. For the record, the accused has acknowledged prior knowledge of the surveillance devices. Every person in the room heard it. Every person understood it. There was no going back. Then, I reached into my briefcase. There's one more thing. I placed a portable speaker on the table. Marcus had prepared it the night before. I pressed play. Adrian's own voice filled the boardroom. Once Ethan is gone, Whitmore's investment group will buy controlling interest. The fake financial evidence will force the board to remove him. He'll never see it coming. Nobody moved. Nobody breathed. The recording continued. He's too loyal. That's why he'll lose everything. The audio ended. Silence. Then Graham Whitmore slowly pushed his chair away from the table. He looked directly at Adrian. You told me you had legitimate concerns. I never agreed to criminal conspiracy. Without another word, he stood up, collected his briefcase, and walked out of the room forever. Adrian desperately reached after him. Graham, wait. The door slammed shut. He was alone, completely alone. The same board members who had trusted him for years now looked at him with disgust. The chairman folded his hands. Mr. Hayes, effective immediately. You are suspended from all duties pending criminal investigation. Adrian looked at me, his eyes filled with panic. Please, Ethan. 16 years. We built this together. I stepped closer until we were standing face to face. My voice was calm, cold. You stopped being my partner the day you put a camera above my wife's bed. I turned toward the board. I've said everything I came here to say. Then I picked up my briefcase and walked toward the door. Behind me, I heard Adrian shouting, begging, trying to explain, trying to save himself. But no one listened anymore, because sometimes the loudest revenge isn't watching someone fall. It's walking away, while everyone else watches them fall instead. 3 months later, life finally became quiet again. Not because the pain had disappeared, but because justice had finally arrived. The criminal investigation moved quickly. The evidence was overwhelming. The hidden cameras, the forged financial records, the corporate credit card statements, the contractor's testimony, and above all, Adrian's own recorded confession. He had built the perfect trap. The only problem, he ended up standing inside it. Within weeks, prosecutors filed charges for fraud, conspiracy, forgery, unlawful surveillance, and invasion of privacy. Every newspaper in the city carried the story. The same business magazines that once called Adrian Hayes a visionary entrepreneur now described him as the executive who betrayed his own partner. His reputation disappeared almost overnight. The investors abandoned him. His professional licenses were revoked. His assets were frozen while civil lawsuits piled higher every week. The empire he tried to steal collapsed on top of him instead. Claire filed for divorce less than a month later. She later admitted she had no idea Adrian had hidden cameras inside our home. She was another victim of his lies. Emily reached out to her quietly. Sometimes the innocent suffer because of someone else's greed. Neither of them deserved that. As for me, I finally told Emily everything. Every secret. Every sleepless night. Every fake phone call. Every moment I had pretended not to know. She listened without interrupting. When I finished, she simply reached across the table and held my hand. "You carried all of this alone. I wish you hadn't." A lump formed in my throat. "I was trying to protect you." She smiled through tears. "You don't protect a marriage by carrying the burden alone. You protect it by carrying it together." At that moment, I realized something. The greatest victory wasn't exposing Adrian. It was discovering who had truly stood beside me all along. 6 months later, our company officially became Carter Industrial Solutions. The Hayes name disappeared from every building, every contract, every business card. Employees who had once feared the company's future now celebrated record profits. The contract Adrian wanted to steal became the foundation of our biggest year ever. Marcus accepted a permanent position as Director of Corporate Security. Victoria rewrote every partnership agreement to ensure no one could ever exploit the company again. And every new employee learned one lesson during orientation. Trust is earned. Once broken, it never fully returns. Sometimes people ask me if I regret not confronting Adrian the moment I found the cameras. My answer is always the same: no, because anger would have given him exactly what he wanted. Patience gave me something far greater: the truth, justice, and my life back. The last time I saw Adrian was outside the courthouse. He looked older, smaller, broken. He tried to meet my eyes. I simply nodded once, turned around, and walked away without saying a single word. Because the greatest revenge isn't making your enemy suffer. It's proving that they were never powerful enough to stop you from winning. If this story kept you on the edge of your seat, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe, and tell us in the comments, what was the biggest mistake Adrian made: his greed, his betrayal, or believing he was smarter than everyone else? Until next time, remember this: patience is often the sharpest weapon, and karma always arrives right on time.